I'll be making my very own Doctor Strange portal to find out for myself how a portal actually works in video games. But here's the catch. I only have 12 hours to make this portal, and by the end of this challenge, the portal must have 4 things. First, a render plane to show where you'll be teleported to. Second, the portal must actually work, so you should be able to teleport from one location to another. Third, you must be able to control the portal and switch from placing a portal to controlling the player. And last but not the least, the portal must have a ring to demarcate it, and also to add some rays to it. So if I do these 4 things successfully within 12 hours, we'll call it a win. If I don't, then action. So first, I decided to use an old project I had already worked on in the past. It doesn't have a portal in it though, it's just player movement, camera movements and some animations, basic stuff. Then I searched Sketchfab for a Doctor Strange model and I got one. But this is also where the first problem started, and that's animations. The thing is, I use Mixamo. Mixamo is an AI tool used to rig and animate 3D models using pre-baked animations, and it has always worked for me in the past, but not this time. For some reason, the AI just wasn't getting the elbow right, and after I did some digging, turns out it was because of the cape. So the AI was thinking that the cape was part of the elbow's clothing, when in reality it wasn't. So I tried different techniques like moving the cape far away from the arm so I could reattach it later. It kinda worked, but it still didn't really do a good job. So I decided, you know what, I'll just delete the entire cape and reattach it in Blender after animating the model. And unsurprisingly, it worked. It still looked a bit weird when you move around, like as if the cape is not joined together, but the timer was ticking, so I just had to leave it as is. Now it's finally time to make what we all came here for, the portal. So I'm going to be starting off by making the first part, the render plane. Now I found this video promising that you can make a portal in 2 minutes. Now that I watched it in hindsight, he did do a good job explaining how it works, but yeah, that didn't go well for me at that time. So I went to my one and only mentor in game development, Rakis. First, I calmed down and watched the entire 24-minute video to really know what I'm getting myself into. And as I was watching it, yeah, I knew I was in deep soup, because I've never made a portal before, and something that I thought would be maybe not easy but at least not difficult, I was seeing like maths, geometry, quaternions. Yeah, I had to just step back a bit, pause the timer, and literally just went to bed because everything just felt so untherapeutic. So I came back 20 minutes later, not so excited, but I just had to drag myself to the computer. So the first step to making a render plane is to add a plane, a camera, and a render texture. Then the camera will be placed on the opposite side of the map. It will be coded to move relative to the player, and finally the render texture will take whatever the camera sees and paste it on the plane. So surprisingly, this wasn't even as hard as I thought. I know it still looks blurry for now, but it's progress. The next thing I needed to do for the render plane was to crop the render texture. This is because you don't want to show everything from the portal camera. Rather, you want to just see a part of it on the plane relative to where and what angle you are looking at the portal. Think of it like cropping a portrait out of a landscape, but the location of the portrait changes depending on where you move. This one was surprisingly the easiest to do. I simply used the screen cutout shader from my mentor and it worked just like that, which is not very common in game development. Though it does look a bit weird because the second portal is also rendering with the same camera. So we are basically rendering a portal inside a portal, but I ignore that for now. So now we have something that looks like a portal, but it still doesn't do anything. And that's where the second part comes in. Teleportation. I might have started to feel not so humble because when I started this challenge, I was confident to the brim that I could definitely make a teleportation system myself. I mean, is it not just to move the player from one location to another? I can definitely do that since I'm such a skilled programmer. But I couldn't. But to be fair, it's definitely not my fault because turns out it wasn't just basic teleportation where you move the player from one location to another. Nope. This one needed maths, geometry, and worst of all, quaternions. This is because you don't always want to teleport the player to the same exact position, like maybe the middle of the portal. Rather, you want to teleport the player to the position relative to the direction and angle you entered the portal in the first place. And this is where, yet again, my one and only mentor, Brakis, came to save the day. So we added a trigger collider to know when the player enters a portal and used a dot product to calculate the angle and direction the player enters the portal. Then we just teleport the player relative to that direction and angle in the second portal. But the catch is, if you teleport the player to the exact location of the second portal, the player ends up just bouncing back and forth between both portals forever. So I decided on my own, without my mentor's consent, to disable the second portal trigger collider for like 5 seconds after the player gets teleported. And again, just to clarify, I coded this on my own. So yeah. Interestingly, I think the way Marvel Rivals did theirs was similar, but they went further by duplicating the player model when it enters a portal, so that you can see one model going inside the portal and you can see another model outside the second portal, and then they just delete the first one when you have fully entered the portal. It's smart, but I wouldn't be doing that today. So it's Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. in the morning, the day was dark, everything was fresh, and my internet expired. Okay. Yeah, this is a problem because I'm using my household internet and I will have to wait for my dad to resubscribe. Yeah, so no tutorials, no dark web, just vibes. Awesome. Luckily, I had some part of my mentor's code already cached on YouTube, So at least I will be able to finish the rest of the tutorial, but I wouldn't be able to rewind back to the previous parts. So my first solo mission impossible was to fix a bug where it looks like you have not teleported, because after teleporting the camera is blocked by the second portal render plane until the player moves far away. Yeah, so I solved that by disabling the second render plane for like 3 seconds after teleporting, and it worked. Wait, we might have killed ourselves here. No way. No. I can't comprehend this. Unity crashed. Unity doesn't have autosave. I haven't saved the portal scene, like, at all. Straight up, I tried to recover it. I searched Windows 10 folder, Unity 10 folder for backup, but all was empty. Probably because I relaunched Unity or Unity closed, but it finally dawned on me. I would have to remake almost everything from scratch, with no internet, no dark web, just vibes. Wow, I messed up big time. But thankfully, I still had my code saved with Visual Studio. So I went full force, full throttle, and got the portal back up to speed. I got it back to its previous state, but I was already running late for school. So I paused the timer, rushed out of the house. Wait. Maybe just one more time. Maybe just one more last time. Maybe skipped a few hygienic processes, rushed out of the house, got to school not so early, only to find out the lecture was cancelled. Awesome. I could have gotten hit by a bus, but okay. So I rushed back home, excited to finally finish this flipping portal. There was 2 things left for me to win this challenge: the portal controls and the portal ring. So for the portal controls, I coded it that pressing K would disable the player control and camera, and then enable the portal control and camera. To control the portal, I simply used the same character controller of the player but disabled gravity. I then added I then added a ring, a rectangular ring, to demarcate the portal and also disable the render plane while placing the portal, so that you can see where you are placing it. Also, sorry for the lag. Like, interestingly, I found out that the render planes was the one lagging the game the whole time, because all this while I was looking at my laptop and I was like, yeah, my laptop has basically never been this slow, because as you can see here, we are getting about 10 to 20 FPS, but when I disable the render planes, we're getting about 50 FPS. Like, That's just crazy. Now imagine how Marvel Rivals made Doctor Strange Portal work in such a big game. Also, I added render planes for the back so it's not just empty. I color coded the entire map so that we can better visualize the portal working. And well done. So I did it. I made Doctor Strange Portal in 10 hours after 5 months of not coding. Actually, I really enjoyed this challenge. I was a little bit not so confident at first because it seemed not so easy, but that's also what made it exciting. I love game development so much. Like, game development is so tough but also so fun at the same time. You probably can't find any job like this anywhere. And funnily, the hardest part of this entire challenge wasn't even really the coding because my mentor did such a great job. That's not to say it wasn't taxing, but the management side was a bit more annoying. Like naming, renaming, duplicating, reorganizing. Yeah, it gets complicated real fast if you don't properly name things. But before I leave,